What is going on, my friends? I hope you are doing well today. The team at TRE wants to say thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for joining today. This is the Real Estate Podcast, and we want you guys to do us a solid. If you don't mind, can you help us get the message out? We believe that real estate can be for anybody, and we believe there's opportunities for people to grow with us. So if you can, please share, subscribe, like, comment. Thank you for being here on our journey, and we are going to continue to add as much value as we possibly can and try to shake up the industry. Let's dive in.
Just have the mindset of every day I'm going to be in the gym. Forget about what you're even doing in the gym. Just make it a habit of going to the gym every day. Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same idea of what we have even in real estate. Even with the machine is, and I'll get to that in a second, our lead gen, it's like, hey, listen, we want to be producing, over $1 million a month in transactions. Yeah. Instead of looking at that big, gigantic number, it's like, dude, how do we how do we just take it one day at a time? And then before you know it, you're going to look back and you're going to say, holy mess, look at how far we've come.
Yeah. Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Good morning, boys. We're excited. We're feeling motivated. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We're really motivated and driven towards our goal here at TRE, and we've got a lot of special people, so we're excited about today's episode. If you can, make sure to share this with your friends. Stop what you're doing right now. Go share it with your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. Come on, baby. Come join the road. Let's get it. No roads.
Let's go.
We're super pumped. We're going to talk about something called the machine. But more importantly, what we also like about doing this, Chris, is we get to know people a little bit more. So it's cool for us. It's cool for the listeners, as we're always trying to give advice for entrepreneurs, for the real entrepreneurs. That's the goal here. Inspire, encourage, figure out ways to grow with other people. So we're blessed to be here. It's morning. Days ahead of us. And today we got Chris Smith. Let's get it. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And before we get into this, I have to give you guys your flowers, man. I have went through your videos. I love what you guys are doing. A lot of motivational content here. And even for, beginning guys all the way through like professionals who do this on a day-to-day, you get a little bit of, content for everyone. So I love it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to put you on the spot. What's your favorite piece of content?
I would have to say I really enjoyed Shamsi's. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of them. But your interview with Miss Shamsi, Create the Day. What was it? It was Create the Day You Want to Have mentality. That was really good. And I can tell you right now, she is a superstar, and we'll get into that here in a second when it comes to the machine. I believe we've already sent her a few really good leads. And
sweet.
So,
It's cool, man.
She's definitely living it.
What's really special, at least for me, is to see people from where they were to where they are now, and go through that journey. And Amanda's one of them, where just sitting across from me scared and not knowing what was going to happen, and now she's on fire and she gets it. And even after that podcast, she called me. So two things. She has a fear of doing stuff like this. So one of the core values here is no fear. We're helping together get past that by doing this. And then she called me and she's like, I really, I don't know if I did that right, but like I didn't want it to make it seem like everything was so easy.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about her success.
Right.
And just not kind of, maybe she felt like we didn't go through the challenges and the struggles. And I'm like, no, you're all good. And I don't know if that came across that way or not, but there was a lot there that she struggled with and still does. And we work on that together. And it's just really, really encouraging and special to see people come from seeing what they think is possible in real estate.
Exactly.
Just another guy, Jordan Brown, called me on Saturday, and he's got 8 deals under contract, but he was working at T-Mobile or something and seeing us. And from the outside world, you're like, man, that seems so cool.
Right.
And you don't necessarily think that it's possible, but when you make that leap and you go all in and you have the right people,
you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd definitely be surprised. So I'm from Northeast Texas, Longview, Tyler. If you guys have ever heard of it, we have a lot of studs in that area. Forrest Whitaker, McConaughey was right down the road. He went to Longview High. Patty Mahomes, White House. We have a lot of really good Chris Smith. We have a lot of good talent, man. We have a lot of good, talent coming out of that area. I going back to high school, right when I graduated, I got a surprise a little early and found out I was having a kiddo. I was working at Chili's. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, I can't work at Chili's and support, this kiddo. So I went to join the Navy. And whenever I went to the recruiter, he was out for lunch, and this Air Force guy was outside smoking, and he was like, hey, come on in and we'll have a chat. Next thing you know, I'm getting signed up. So I did 6 years in the service. I actually went in for HVAC, and they said my depth perception didn't pass because I was going to work on the ventilation systems in the C-130s.
Mm-hmm.
So
What's a C-130?
It's a cargo. It's a big cargo airplane, that the Air Force uses. And so they gave me a list of jobs that I could join, and one of them was security forces, and it was being a military, policeman. And so I remember talking to the recruiter. I was like, hey, man, I'll never forget. This is wild. I was like, hey, man, what's the duties, like what kind of goes into the role of being a security forces member? He leaned in, I crap you not, and he was like, have you ever seen Bad Boys? Oh, he had me hooked.
Bad Boys for life.
Oh, man. And it was crazy because all you are is basically a glorified gate guard, and you're a cop, And I remember getting into it thinking, that guy lied to me. And I have 5.5 more years of doing this, right? But it worked out. It was great. I got to go to, 5 different countries. I started out at Cocoa Beach, Florida, Cape Canaveral, where they launched the rockets, doing security there. And then from there, I moved to Qatar. And then I finished up my tour in Greenland. That's right outside of Iceland.
Nice, man.
So you're just kind of guarding these bases?
It depends on where you're at. So Qatar was actually a deployment. In Cocoa Beach, we were guarding NASA, the actual shuttle site. And then in Greenland, we have an anti-nuclear facility there. So it's basically if a nuke is launched from Russia, they have Patriot interceptor missiles that come up to intercept it over Greenland. We're guarding that facility.
What was happening in Qatar?
In Qatar, so that was just a standard deployment. So it was, the guys that go to, like Bagram, Iraq, Afghanistan, they come there for R&R. So I like to say I had, a little boots on ground deployment, but I mean, we had a Starbucks there, you know what I mean? We had a pool, we had a Dairy Queen. So really it was just, patrolling the wire. Sometimes they'd let you go outside, for a trip or two with a rover unit, and you just come back and live your life. So I did that for 6 months. And the best part for me is the people you meet. No matter where you go, you get a little bit of their culture. And like, for instance, when I first started here, you guys let me go on a trip. I went to Italy and did all that. But it's like every time you come back a different person, a slightly a different person than you were when you left.
Yeah.
And that's what I love it. So
that's great, man. Yeah, I love it. We go all different directions, but we had someone come on and, as we're talking about biblically, he's like, there's nothing in the Bible that talks about retiring. It's like, you can go like travel and enjoy, but like nobody really wants to go do nothing. So it's cool to try to create a lifestyle where I think traveling is important, but you're always building, and then you go have those experiences like you're talking about and come back and apply them to what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
But if you just stop and you just travel the world, like you'd get bored. I imagine.
Yeah, you definitely do. Whenever I got out of the service, I didn't want to go back to East Texas. So I visited a friend in Austin and decided to move here. And I started doing some bartending. Went to Chewy's, shout out to Chewy's, Gordo's. And it's so crazy because I do want to talk about mindset slightly and what we think success looks like. Whenever I was bartending one night, there was these 2 guys that came in with their laptops. And I remember I went behind into the kitchen and told my manager, and I was like, I think my goal in life is to have a job where I can have a laptop and just pop it open wherever and work. I was like, that's so cool. Like, they're not tied to anything. Fast forward to 2 years later, I was working for one of the bigger lead gen companies out there, and there I am, at that exact same bar with a laptop. But it was just so wild because that's what I thought success was. And it just really feeds into that narrative that David Goggins says is you're never going to meet what you think success is. You're always in pursuit of it.
Yeah.
And success for you always changes.
Sure.
I got my first check in the military, $1,400. And I was like, dude, I made it. Like, this is so much money. It was just so much money for me, man, Yeah. And then, now it's like, okay, if I can just get to that next step, whatever that is, that's what success is for me. So,
yeah, I mean, I think, there's no end goal. It's like, if I get here, I'm good. There's always another step you can take. And I'm a believer that you have to just constantly have things that you're working towards. Like if you don't have a clear goal that you're making progress towards, I really don't know if you could be happy.
Yeah.
Every time in
Absolutely
my
not.
life when I've had a very clear goal and it's like, this is where I'm going, I've been the happiest in my life. And if I didn't have any direction and just kind of going through things, like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you just got to have something in your life that you're constantly striving and going towards. But then you get there and, you know, keep going somewhere else.
Exactly. I was going to, I meant to ask you this, and I don't think I've asked either one of you this, but what was it growing up that flipped that switch for real estate for you guys? Like, when did you decide, hey, I'm going all in on this whole real estate journey?
I'll let Matt answer, but for me, growing up, it was never real estate necessarily. Like, I didn't, you know, as a child or in high school or something, never, you know, pictured in my mind that real estate was the way. But what I was after was freedom, and you know, investing in real estate with Matt and seeing everything that's possible is what flipped the switch for, hey, real estate is the route for freedom.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, two things. So the kind of to my story, I think it applies in a sense, but my the goal, having the goal and striving towards that started with baseball. I played baseball my whole life, and my freshman year I didn't make the team, and like crushed me, like crying. Like, that was my thing. Like, and I played with everybody who was on the team. I was always like average. I was good, but like Round Rock's really good.
Yeah,
So I was average there. But I was a hard worker, always. And so I didn't make the team, was crying, and then I literally spent the next year obsessed with, like, I have to make the team. And so I kept telling myself, if you do everything you can towards something that you want to do, you have to be able to accomplish it. You have to.
Yeah.
And so literally every night, running sprints, all kinds of stuff. And to the point of, we went to tryouts next year, and we did a race, and they were like, run to the foul line and back. And I literally won. And I'm slow. But it was like, I just had like so much determination.
You
and
just wanted it.
I was working for sure harder than anybody, like obsessed with it.
Right.
So then I was like, wow, you can accomplish whatever you want to if you go all in.
Yeah.
And then I've talked about this a little bit, but working at a job in high school, I was working at Wingstop, and it was just depressing of like, I was just cleaning the floors, like looking at the clock, like, I think it closed at 12, and I'm like, God, I hate it. This is a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so I just knew, luckily through seeing my mom invest in real estate and what was possible, that it was such an amazing industry that can change your life.
Oh,
It's a
100%.
simple thing of like, hey, put a down payment, and then somebody pays it off for you. And 30 years later, you own it. I was like,
100%.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I remember in college, I got my license. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my mom I was doing it. I just went to go get it. And it meant so much to me. Like, I called her holding back tears or maybe crying of like, I got my license.
Right.
And it was so meaningful to me. I just, you know, just probably knew like what I was going to do, or hopefully tried to do, that like this, I just knew like this is my path. Like,
It made sense for you.
yeah, it's like, this is what I'm going to do.
100%.
And it was lucky, I was to see that, and then just to know like everything's possible. And I stopped partying. Like, it was my junior year, end of sophomore year. All my friends were, you know, hanging out on the couches and playing video games, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like straight to my room, out to the brokerage, to class. And
Oh,
I
for
was
sure.
Just changed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, they saw that. You know
They
what
did.
I mean?
They did. Yeah.
They definitely saw it.
Yeah. And they support me, but at the time it was like, hey, you know, where's our friend? I'm
Yeah.
like, hey.
Well, you're lucky. You had a good support group.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
did. And I was getting a history degree. So also I was like deathly scared of, what if I just get a history degree and real estate doesn't work out? What am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be looking at the clock again.
teaching a class.
Yeah. So
something.
that really drove me. But it's a blessing, man. And I talk about this all the time. I think there's opportunities for everybody in real estate, regardless of if you're an agent or not. Like,
100%.
somehow your life is involved in real estate.
100%.
Some way.
Yeah.
So you should know a little bit about it.
Oh, man, I was jazzed. I remember in the leadership meeting, you guys shared a video of you when you had first started. And that was a really cool motivational video to see. And it's so inspiring. You're very lucky. I think you're considered one of the few that got into what their calling was that early in life.
Yep.
But for those of you just getting into real estate, it is absolutely never too late, or whatever your dreams are,
Totally.
for that matter, right?
Just like we're talking about.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
literally, we see it all the time. Like
100%.
6 months, a year later, just people it clicks, and you don't think you can get there, but then you've got more than you ever thought.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it, man. Yeah, thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, was there a real estate moment? I mean,
So no, and to be honest with you, when I was working at Gordo's, it's a unique donut place. They do like donut burgers.
It's
and things
so
like that.
hardcore.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's heart
Have you
attack
been
on
there?
a plate.
dude, tell
We're
the
gonna
audience.
have to go. All right, I don't want this to be an endorsement or nothing, but it's
It's a
very,
crazy place.
It's very, very good. They got your traditional donuts. They have donut hamburgers, right? It's a savory bun, slice of. And they have this one thing called the Ron Burgundy. They got a beef patty, 2 slices of jack cheese. They got your lettuce, tomato, scoop of guac, the whole works, and
On a donut.
on a donut. Mind blowing. Literally, it is a heart attack on a plate. But whenever I was leaving there, I went to a startup that was in real estate doing lead generation. And I went there just for more of like a transitional check until I made it to, because I wanted to, move over to 6th Street and kind of do that bartending kind of thing.
How'd you find the lead gen job?
So the girl I was dating at the time, he was working there, and they needed people to go. They needed people to start. And it was crazy because I was at a flag football game and the recruiter called me and was like, hey, somebody referred you. And this was on a Sunday. They're like, can you swing by the office? So I went in on a Sunday, and I started talking to her. Next thing you know, she's showing me schedules and was like, hey, can you be here tomorrow? Wow. I was like, what? I was like, yeah. So whenever I started going into it, I didn't know anything about what a real estate agent was. I didn't know about what a loan. I didn't know anything about anything. But I did know is I do enjoy talking to people, and it doesn't really matter what the product is. I'm pretty sure I can at least have them give me the time of day to explain it. And I remember how the setup was is every time you introduce an agent or a loan officer to a client, you get paid out. And I just remember thinking, is that it? Like that's all you need me to do.
Yeah,
right.
That's easy.
So it was like at the time the record there was like 31 transfers in a day, and my first day I did like 28, and everyone was just congratulations, and I was like, guys, like I could have had 30, but I took a lunch, you know what I mean? And when the check came in, I remember before the check came in, I told the lady sitting next to me, I said, if I can do $800 on my check, I'm gonna be so jazzed because I have expenses and she was like, you doing this, you're going to make a lot more than that. And I was hooked when I got that first check. And then from there, I was like, this isn't a transitional thing. Like, I'm staying here. And so, yeah, being a part of a startup, got a lot of really, really valuable experience from hiring to crucial conversations, how to let, someone go, unfortunately, if it's time. All the way to managing. At one point I had 47 people on a team as a CSM2, so it was a really cool journey and I gained a lot from it.
And so you kind of started in that position and worked up to manager?
And right at my 3-month mark, I was 2 days over my 3-month mark is when they offered me the management position, and that was right when we were transitioning to the new building. And then from there we created a position where someone that wants to be a manager is called a supervisor, and they report under you, and they merge 2 teams into one. So a standard team of 17 to 20 is now merged into 2 teams. Yeah. And you're training the supervisor on how to become a manager, and you're also overseeing your team of 40 plus.
Was that like when you kind of felt that success and went all in on it, was that like maybe the first time that you had something like that, or did you have that in the military or growing up, like something you're like, I'm all in, like I love this?
Negative. It was actually the opposite. I remember sitting in that police car thinking, this is not my life. Matter of fact, the very first time I had to get your own patrol car, you have to do X amount of, it's called code forwards, but traffic stops. I remember we lit a girl up one time. She was 18 years old for running a stop sign. It took me 5 minutes to get out of the car. I was petrified because it's like, I'm coming to your vehicle. Yeah. I don't know what you have. And that right then I was thinking, is this really worth it? Right. Is this, and you have to give your roses, man, to law enforcement and the guys that are doing it, because that is not an easy role to have. But I knew that's not where I should be. So when I was in that environment, training people to go to the next level, helping people connect clients to realtors and lenders, I was like, this is my home. Like, this is what I want to do. That's great. And it felt great. It was amazing. Yeah.
What were some of the things you learned when you stepped into that manager role?
I can tell you the very first lesson I learned. Whenever I was we called it a CSR, and in real estate terms, it's an ISA. I was always looking at managers with their little laptops going into these meetings and thinking, what are they talking about in there? And finally, I remember my first day, we had a manager meeting at 3, and I paused right before I went in, and his name's Jeff, great leader. He came up behind me and he was like, hey, you're here for a reason. Like, don't double think of it, or don't think about it too hard, or whatever the case is. Just go in there, give us your ideas. You're going to be great. And that was really the first thing that I learned. And I tell everyone right before they interview, years later, hey, you're in that interview for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, don't, double guess yourself. It's not that serious. Go in, make it a learning, a learning opportunity, and take from it what you can. And I was very surprised. They were very open to some of my ideas when I finally decided to speak up. And so that's what I tell my guys all the time. You're here for a reason. Trust in your experience.
Yeah,
definitely.
I like that.
It's different though, right? Because it
Much
switches
different.
from moving from that to leading a team and leading people. I mean, it's easy to sometimes it is. It's easy to be a high performer by yourself, right?
Absolutely.
It's a much different gig when you're trying to figure out how to get everybody else to be high performers.
To be on the same team, to be performing as a unit, as one. And we could talk, that could be a whole nother, absolutely we could talk on that. But it's interestingly enough, I was talking with Jonathan about being a provider of energy. When you're in these type of roles, even you guys have to know, like when you step into that brokerage, maybe there's an agent who just isn't having the best of days. So it doesn't necessarily matter what happened to you on the way here. You know what I mean? If you come in there and you're like, oh, this is a crap day, they're going to feed off of that, right? Because you're leading the way. Yeah. So what I had to learn and adapt to is they're always watching. People are always watching when you're in that position. And you have to be that provider of great vibes and good energy and motivation all the time. And then, of course, your boss, all right, they're helping you along your journey. So
yeah,
that was definitely a lesson learned.
Let me ask you this, take a different spin on it in a sense, because I hear you and I agree.
For sure.
It's good advice. But, like, I wonder, because obviously everyone struggles with things. We had some things recently where I was like, man, I kind of think it might be good to show some vulnerability and to not just act like everything's okay. And let people in on that. Do you necessarily? I don't know the answer, honestly. But like, as being the leader, is that in a sense leading, right? Of like, hey, I'm here. Like, this is real. I'm struggling too. And then, and I believe that it can kind of rally the troops and get people behind you and supportive. Versus like, hey, it's all good all the time.
For sure.
I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, so providing that positive mindset, always encouraging your troops, that's a standard. That's what you need to do. That's a given. That's in your role. I think what isn't so much performed and what isn't necessarily in the job title is what you just mentioned. And I think that's what really separates a leader from the rest of the leaders, is when they are able to, give your team a peek behind the curtain and let them know, hey, I'm struggling. Some of the best advice I got was from my old manager. He said, hey, listen, you're going to be a manager tomorrow. You don't have to know everything. And if you don't know it, don't lead your team astray and fake an answer.
Right.
Let them know, I don't know.
Yeah.
If they ask you, what's an exchange? You know what I mean? What does a VA loan mean? And you don't know, just let them know. Hey, I don't know, but I'm going to figure out the answer for you.
Love
right?
it. Yeah.
So 100% showing these guys if you did have a rough day, or letting them know if you don't know a certain answer, I think that definitely goes a long way. And it shows them that it's okay to mess up and not be perfect and be vulnerable with you as well.
Love it. That's good, man.
Oh, absolutely. I love the concept that you guys have of all in. I think that on one of my first interviews with Alex, when he mentioned it, that's the one that really got me hooked. That one, and with not for. Those are very, very cool values that you guys live by.
Yeah.
When it comes to the all in, I'm bringing this up because I was having a convo with my sister. She wants to be a real estate agent. And I asked her why, and she was like, having coffee with clients and showing these beautiful homes and getting the commission checks, that all seems very, very great. And I'm sure some people watching that haven't taken that step, that's what they see. But my advice to everyone who wants to go all in, it's like you mentioned, doing the sprints and really living it, is do your research, do your homework.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that, once they do go all into the other side, they don't think about cold calling, right? They don't think about, negotiations and utilizing your gas, for 4 different properties, for someone who's undecisive. So the best thing for anyone, in my advice, that wants to go into real estate, no matter what genre it is is swing by, talk to some, high performing agents, ask if you can go to an open house with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ask them all of the day-to-day questions. You know what I mean? So be fully prepared when you do go all in, so that you make the most of that opportunity.
Yeah, constantly learning every day on how to like help and guide people in a certain way. And got a new agent, and it's like he's wanting me to tell him exactly what to do, and I'm trying to figure out how to teach, because I do want to help him, but it's like, dude, I don't actually know the exact answer, but what I can tell you are some things that I believe is the answer. Is like to just basically simply to go take action and then come back to me. Because that's all I'm doing. Like I don't it's not like guaranteed what's ahead of me. I don't know exactly, but I just keep pushing forward, going. And it works.
Oh, 100%. I think some people are so quick whenever they do go all in, and we're not even just talking about real estate, any situation in life, when they do go all in and they don't see the results. I saw a really cool podcast, and this guy talked about losing weight. And he was like, somebody gets the motivation, they get off the couch, right? What's the first thing they do, right? They get the gym membership. They probably go to get some supplements, and then they go grab the groceries and all that stuff. He's like, forget all of that. Like, don't worry about any of that. Just have the mindset of every day, I'm going to be in the gym. Forget about what you're even doing in the gym. Just make it a habit of going to the gym every day. Right? And it's the same idea of what we have even in real estate. Even with the machine is, and I'll get to that in a second, our lead gen, it's like, hey, listen, we want to be producing, over $1 million a month in transactions. Instead of looking at that big, gigantic number, it's like, dude, how do we how do we just take it one day at a time? And then before you know it, you're going to look back and you're going to say, holy mess, look at how far we've come.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to explain in a sense. Like, people are wanting things to happen so fast. And so, like, I told them, I was like, there's an apartment complex right here. Go knock on every door and just show people that you care. And don't even consider that you're going to close a deal. Just do it to do it.
For sure.
That's important. But it will also pay off.
Absolutely.
And if you follow up, it will pay off 10 times as much.
Absolutely.
Like, it's the littlest thing ever. You could just go to one apartment complex and go meet 200 people and build an entire business off that.
There you go. 100%. And it's just having those conversations. Someone said it's healthy just to talk to a stranger once a day. Just say anything you want. Just get it out.
I'll one up it. From a girl yesterday. She said her dad taught her to make a stranger laugh every day.
I love that.
Dude, me too.
Yeah.
She had me, I was like, hey, you did it with me. She's like, thanks. I'm going to tell my dad that.
Oh, for sure.
And so, like, that's super cool.
Yeah, I definitely love that. And it definitely rings true. I do want to talk about what we are building here at TRE, though, because it is very exciting. So it is called The Machine. And what it is obviously we're taking leads inbound as well as outbound. We're converting them, getting clients on the phone, and we are passing them off to our real estate agents here at TRE. So this is great. Earlier I mentioned, like, some agents don't like cold calling.
Yeah.
They don't like putting in, I'm not going to say putting in the work, because obviously you do, but your time could be better utilized elsewhere while we're qualifying the leads on your behalf. So that to me is just another really solid reason to come join us. Let us give you leads, you know what I mean, to work. It's a really cool thing.
It's a tool to tap into. You can go build your own business and you can get leads from the machine. And from us, from high level, like, we're constantly just trying new aspects and new things. And, like, we've got this machine working with someone who's very serious and committed, and, all roads led to you coming here to join us. What a blessing.
Oh yeah.
And if that thing just works, like, that thing could be the biggest thing that we have going on.
100%.
And then there's this other thing over here and this other thing over here, and everyone from the outside is like, what the heck's going on?
Absolutely.
But we believe we got the right people.
For sure.
And it's all new, but, like, hopefully you'll see over time, like, we're in it, man. We got your back however you need it, and we're blessed to have you. And at first, the machine didn't seem like creative enough, the name, but I love it, dude. The machine.
Oh, yeah.
Someone told me, like, I have it stored, and when I see it, the machine. And that's when it clicked, like, the machine's calling. And that's what it's going to be.
Oh, for sure. The more Alex said it, the more it was like, I was like, all right, we're doing this. This it sounds great, because it's a process-built system. It's a process-driven system. And that goes into everything that you do, even if you're not utilizing the machine. For some of you guys that are just calling leads that you've purchased, a lot of people struggle with that. It's like, hey, I spent $2,000 on leads. Why am I not getting a return? Where it's like, okay, well, what's your process behind that?
Yeah.
If you don't have a process, those leads aren't going to go anywhere. I remember you and Andrew were talking about lead gen, and you mentioned, hey, at least 12 touches, right? On a lead is what you need before you're going to at least probably make contact. We do 26 over here. You know what I mean? We are getting a yes or a no or whatever the case is before we move forward. And I think that's great. I think a lot of people, they get so discouraged after they spend that money. And it's like, hey, you really need to sit down and say, all right, what am I doing day one? What am I doing day two? And do anything. Hire an ISA, maybe a VA to help you out with that, whatever the case is. But you have to be consistent and not let your money
That's
fall
all it
through the
is,
cracks.
man.
Yeah.
And hopefully you feel this way, because we are all about encouraging the entrepreneurial spirit here, is you're essentially building your own business
I am.
within a business.
I
So
am.
hopefully you feel like you can be super entrepreneurial with it, test things out.
100%.
And that's its own entity in a
Absolutely.
sense, that has so much potential, and you get to lead the troops.
Oh, for sure. It's super exciting. And a little piece of advice for people who are, cold calling any type of lead, don't do it blindly. I think that's the worst thing you can do. Go in to a cold call with a plan. Understand what you're going to say. I'll say the most important part of a cold call is the introduction, from tonality and pace to actually what you're going to say. But in your introduction, make it the same every single time. So if you're getting hung up on at a certain point, it's consistent, and that's a good thing, right? You can tweak it and move forward from there. If every single time you call someone, it's a different type of conversation, you don't really know what's working and what isn't.
That's good.
You're right. So the rest of the convo can be fluid, whatever you would like, but at least have that introduction the same, because once you find something that works, it's going to continue working for you.
Yeah, I think at least for me, it's like a freeing mentality to, when you think of the machine, of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it again and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to get better and better. Where I personally, and I think maybe a lot of real estate agents get trapped into like, I got to go chase this deal and close it. And then I got to go chase this deal over here. But having the mentality of like, it's going to keep coming to me.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I'm going to just keep improving. And then you're actually building something versus just running around in circles.
Exactly.
Which actually can work for a little bit.
It can for a little bit.
But,
in
but
essence,
does that make sense on the freeing of like, it's okay. Lost that one. The next one's coming.
Oh,
Like, just keep improving on it.
It's such, all of this with anything, it really comes down to how do you speak to yourself, right? How do you treat yourself? And so for me, the mentality is just make a friend today. When my daughter was very little, when she would like fall off of a stair or something, right before she started crying, I'd start clapping and celebrating. And that's what I have to do to myself, right? If someone, hangs up or cusses me out or whatever, I'm like, hey, I just made a friend today. I think so many of us are so quick to start cold calling, and then 2 or 3 people hang up and you're like, I'm done for the day. I need to go to lunch. This isn't working. Instead, go through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Change the mindset behind what it is. If anything, someone hanging up on you saved you time, right? So you should thank them, in my opinion, right?
Sure.
So change that mentality of what failure is to you, and you'd be surprised at how many times that next dial is someone that was waiting on you to call them.
That's right. With the machine, we've got a big vision, and you're leading the charge. And
Yes, sir.
we got a big task ahead of us. Your experience here and how we're kind of building it out in-house versus where you were previously, what are some things that excite you about, everything being in-house and what we're going to be able to provide to all the agents and everybody on the team?
That's a really good question. So I'll take it a little higher level. The whole with not for mentality. You guys have given me nothing but freedom and creativity to really make this my own.
We mean that.
Oh my gosh.
If
Yeah.
I hear the word, like I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't tell you like how many times, Alex or Matt, they'll message me even on the weekends. Hey, are you good? Do you need anything? What can we do for you? Just having that support has really helped me get to where we're at now with the machine. One of the biggest things that I love that really attracted me here is everything is in-house. At this lead gen website that I was at, it was nationwide. So a lot of the struggles that you had was tracking down a realtor in Maine to figure out if they're in the closing process or why has this been under contract for so many months, whatever the case is. Here, we're all in this together, and it's very easy to figure out where a certain individual is at. Another thing is I was blown away my first all hands. That's really what like drove this whole thing home for me of being a TRE family member, was everyone was so bought in and everyone was so willing to help. And after the meeting was over, it wasn't just like, you hit the light switch and bugs scatter. Everyone was still there and they were helping each other out and talking about deals and introducing themselves to each other. So everyone truly is a unit, one, unit. And that was the beautiful thing about it. And I think all of those components really helped the machine become what I know it can be. And then, of course, the last thing is just being at these previous places, I've seen some superstars. And I was able to work with some of these guys. Some of them were on my team, some were other managers. And the ability to chat and work with them, and even some of them coming over here and rocking and rolling with us. That really gave me the confidence to know, hey, we're creating something very special here.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I believe it, man. We're all believers in God, and we try hard to stay close to God. And to me, it really does seem like it's just the people, and He's blessing everything. And it's not me and Alex. It's all of it, right?
100%.
Like we're literally in it together, and we got to keep going. And, I know, but like it's just regardless of the outcome. It's like, dude, what a blessing. We're sitting here hanging out with Chris, getting to know you. Like, this is great. This is amazing.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great. It was so cool because I went back and watched like your beginning videos for with TRE, seeing you, Andrew, right, renting out the new space, and you and Lexi, and how everything really came into the picture. One of your first videos. It was really cool because until last week that I saw that video, I thought you had like a master's in accounting or something. And in the video, you were like, hey, I don't have, those credentials. And it's just so crazy. And the fact that you went all in, you know what I mean? It just shows that experience sometimes does trump education in a lot of ways. And that's so liberating to see where you guys are at today.
Thanks, man.
Versus where you were video one.
I was teaching a college class last night, and Alex came and taught with me. We just sat there, and
right.
I'm just like, how cool is this?
Oh, man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the best things to me about you guys and TRE, what really got me hooked, is I really started following you guys on social media. You have a huge social media presence, which I love, and you're consistent. But one of the videos you had was a live cold calling session. And I was like, no way. I remember thinking, there's no way this is going to be live. Maybe it's like an actor or something, or because with a cold call, you just don't know. And to have an audience there while you're, that is something that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, Chris was pumped up when we were interviewing. He was like, just the fact that y'all did that.
That really took me to the next stage of
cool.
coming here.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like, hey, you got so many brokerages and websites that are like, we're going to do live cold calling, convert 50% of your calls, just pay us $9.99 a month. You know what I mean? And you'll be a part of this course. And you guys don't do that.
Yeah.
Everything is for anyone who is interested. Just come in. It's an open door policy. And we're here to help.
Dude, I'm big on that. I don't know if you've felt that, but I realized that last week. It's like every brokerage I've been at, there was this room where the broker or the partners, they'd go in there and they talk, and like me and the junior brokers are like, what are they doing in there?
Yeah.
And it was true. That's where they were making money.
For sure.
In that room.
Yeah.
With the door closed.
Absolutely.
And I was like, that's one thing that's really cool about us is literally the door's closed if it's loud. That's it. Anybody 100%. Can come in here right now and be a part of this and listen, or anything that I'm doing and that Alex is doing. And it's like, we're just in the trenches with you.
100%.
There's no hierarchy here.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
And that's where the whole with not for comes, is nobody works for us. That's the mentality.
It's just so encouraging. I remember, the first 2 to 3 weeks I was here, it was me and Alex working. And I would always say, oh man, it would be so cool if we did this or that. And I'd be like, Alex, can you imagine if, and he's always like, I can. And we are going to do that, right? Like, I can imagine that. And that's just so supportive. You know what I mean? Knowing that, hey, I got this team behind my back, and it doesn't necessarily matter what the idea is. If it makes sense, we can implement it.
Yeah.
Where so many other companies are like, that's a good idea, but we're going to put it on the back burner and probably circle back to it another time.
Imagine is the word that's been hitting me.
Oh, yeah.
My pastor, he ends the sermon every time with, he's like, imagine what it would be like if. And he just goes on.
I love it.
And I know. And I'm like, man, I'm going to start using that word.
100%.
Because, like, get it in your brain. Right. Imagine it. Like, it
absolutely
gives me chills when he starts saying, like, imagine if you were to go all in. Imagine how it would change this city.
Definitely.
It's beautiful.
It's great. One of the biggest pieces of advice I ever got was be the person that you want to be and live that. So think about, what do I want Chris Smith 5 years from now to be? And what am I doing today that's going to help me be that person? What is he doing? Is he spending 10 hours on the video game every day, or is he going out networking and helping build the machine, or whatever the case is? So for all of you out there, you entrepreneurs, be that individual you want to be, and before you know it, you're gonna be that individual. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Are you a big video gamer?
I am, and it's a guilty pleasure. But for me, I think it really hit with COVID, not being able to like physically socialize with people. It's like, oh, you get all your buddies, on the game. And back when I was at the other company, I would have like 17 guys from my team. We would leave work. All right, I'll meet you in the lobbies or whatever. So
that's cool.
It would be it's a really good
That
time.
is cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a different way to bond with your team.
I've done. I mean, we played Halo and high school and stuff, and I have this interesting because I understand the appeal completely, and like I think of like just getting and nowadays with the way games are going,
that's crazy.
I'm like, this is a world that I could get lost in.
Oh yeah,
I hadn't touched it in 8 years, but I'm like, I bet you it's so cool.
Oh man, it's
and like, I would go all in on. I probably wouldn't just because we're focused here, but like I could really get into it and appreciate it for like how cool it would be.
It's crazy where we're at now.
Yeah,
I'll say that, especially with the new like meta, and the VR and
like I hadn't even touched that.
I think the last video game that I played was like Modern Warfare.
Okay, so you've missed a lot.
Yeah, I probably missed.
I didn't even play that. Like I saw people playing, and that became super popular. It was Halo.
You're probably getting your real estate license at that point.
Yeah. He's ahead of us for sure. That's definitely true. But yeah, it's definitely been a unique journey. I'm so incredibly pumped that I went from that bartender watching guys on their laptops to where I'm at now. And now it's just like, okay, what's the next step? How do we keep evolving? How do we keep moving this thing?
Totally.
Let's imagine real quick. In spirit of imagining, let's paint the picture for all the viewers of where the machine's going to be at. What is your vision for it? What are you imagining 1 year, 5 years from now?
1 year from now, we're definitely going to be in a bunch of different markets in Texas. Hopefully, we're going to start targeting the Oklahoma and Louisiana areas as well. We're going to have well over 100 ISAs. Hopefully, we're going to be a little more central because I do live south. But hey, if I got to move north, I will. No worries, no worries. We're going to obviously hit that 1 million goal per month in revenue. We're going to have a lot more agents because we're constantly growing, and they're going to see what's happening here. 5 years from now, I want to be nationwide, 100%. Nationwide, and then the big goal is to be globally. Let's help some guys out, purchasing a home in Ireland or England, whatever the case is. That's the big goal for me.
See you traveling around, overseeing all these call centers.
Hey.
You get to travel, you get to build.
Hey, I was
imagine.
I was telling the guys, and it's so cool being invested in all in because, like I mentioned, you guys will message me all hours. Like it's wild, but it's so cool to know that we're all on the same level. I'm not here and you guys are here, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So when we were in Venice, enjoying the vacation of a lifetime. I remember we were walking down the street and I was telling my lady, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be a really good opener for a cold call. And she's like, we're in Venice. You know what I mean? But that's how I know that I truly love what I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm always thinking of ways to recreate and develop certain processes. And I enjoy it. I love it. Versus, other jobs previously, it's like, all right, at 5:01, I'm out of here. My laptop's closed for the weekend. I don't want to think about it until I come into work. And that's truly what it is to live it and love it.
Yeah. Amen. Blessing.
Yes,
blessing,
sir.
Blessing.
100%.
I feel the same way, and it's just the life that we live.
100%.
We try to get around, and the more great people, you're teaching us. We're getting to know you better. People are getting value. Entrepreneurs. There's a lot going on. There's a chess game.
Oh yeah.
And it is a game in a sense, but it's real life. But you just gotta think outside of. Can I knock on that apartment door and get someone to sign a lease? No. There's more going on here. Oh,
definitely. There's so much more. And Cap mentioned it earlier before we walked in here. Is it's very hard to describe what TRE does. I remember when I first sat down with you, you were like, all right, so we do this, right? Project management. We have construction. We have and it's like, it's unique. It's super unique because it's not a cookie cutter type of brokerage. It's not, we only do resident, or we're only going to force you into this venue. It's, hey, wherever your skill set fits best, that's where we're going to utilize you. Whatever the client needs, more than likely we can provide that for them.
Yeah.
And that's what's so beautiful about it. Before I forget, though, happy hour tonight?
Yes,
is that what I hear? Little Woodrow's?
Yes, sir.
So for anybody that's curious about maybe what we're doing at the machine or anything of that nature, come meet me, man. Swing by. I'd love to talk with you tonight at Little Woodrow's on Palmer for sure.
Come on, that'd be great.
Let's do it.
More people, the better. We all help each other. God keeps putting these people in all of our lives.
Yes,
and
sir.
We got a girl, Theo, from Africa. She's from Africa. She lives here. She's about to join.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, Terry, Africa. And it's totally possible. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
But it'd be her leading the charge.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about worldwide, baby.
I know.
We're making it happen.
Got a girl, professional baseball player from Japan.
Really?
Yeah. She lives here.
Wow.
Professional Japanese baseball player.
Yeah. You want to talk about motivating? I was listening to one of your episodes, and it was the Corpus. Was it Is it Gia?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, she'll make
Gia.
listen.
Yeah.
What the world? When 18, 19, already slaying it.
Yeah.
Man, I was, on video games or whatever the case is, 18, 19, just doing whatever. But that's so cool to see someone that motivated, and we're, opening that market around like-minded individuals like Gia in that area. That's so cool, man. Oh.
It's gonna be fun. We got the machine going. We got the right people. We're motivated. We got a new mentality here. People coming for what we're trying to build.
Absolutely.
And that's all right. But regardless, we're gonna enjoy the journey, man.
Yes, sir.
And it's a blessing to hang out with you and get to know you a little more. This podcast, the Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by our boy Brandon. He's over at Quest Mortgage, and they do a really great job. We got a lot of people that help with lending side. We do the property management. We got the fund. If you guys can share this, like, comment, and we're here. The door is open at TRE.
Let's get it.
Let's keep hustling. We're blessed to have you on the team.
Thank
man.
you guys so much.
Thank
this
you,
was so
Chris.
fun. Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. Much love. Keep hustling. Take some of these lessons. Put them to use. Never give up. Go get it.
Take some action.
Hey.